Hello and welcome to Frank's School. I'm back on the job here. I took time out for beauty, but back to Burke. Wonderful documentary series. This is James Burke's The Day the Universe Changed. I'm up to episode 6, credit where it's due. The place I'd ask you to stop, and I would now ask you to start, is 17th minute around the 14th second, and go up to the 31st minute around the 23rd second. That seems to be a good place to stop. Now, right where you stopped, he was talking about the Dissenters in England. This part of the series is very much about England. These Dissenters were not allowed. What caught my attention, he rattled off various things they were not allowed to do. Well, the one that caught my attention, because I'd never heard that before. I'd heard it, but I hadn't paid attention. They were not allowed to preach within 5 miles of cities. They were, in effect, what I understand this to mean is they were, in effect, exiled to the countryside. I almost immediately began to think, aha, decentralists. Without that being spoken, I see that theme, maybe unintentionally, within this a lot of this series. I mean, maybe that's just mine. What's that called? Exegesis or something like that, when you put something of your own into something that wasn't there? I don't know. Maybe these dissenters are now, or what's left of them, are now decentralists by nature. It makes some sense to me when I think about the Mennonites. I'll come to them. Well, the list that he goes through so fast, I had to go back and listen to him 2 or 3 times to write them all down. Quakers, Baptists, Unitarians, Presbyterians, Congregationalists. Now these are opposed to what, at least in this part of Pennsylvania, are the Catholics and the Lutherans and the Episcopalians. They were called mainline churches. And these would be some of the, I might be missing one. Well, see, Methodists belong here somewhere. Methodists would be up in here, I think. The Catholics, all the way back to the Pope, the Protestant Reformation, these two, I mean, in their eyes, Lutherans and Episcopalians are just not that different from Catholics, except for the Pope. I mean, they're a lot alike, but these are different. Now in Germany, something similar was going on. Germany's history is so different because it was so ripped apart by the 30 Years' War. But Germany and Switzerland produced the Amish and the Mennonites. And some people might think, well, the Quakers and the Mennonites, they're alike. No, well, yes, in a way. They have a different origin, and the Quakers that came to Plymouth, I believe, for a while lived in Amsterdam, or at least in Holland. This, incidentally, is the very part of Germany and Holland where I'm going to be going in less than 2 months. Now, I look at a list like this. Well, Pennsylvania is known as the Quaker state. I just remembered, in Concord, New Hampshire, at one point, I attended a Quaker meeting once or twice. It was just a meeting. They didn't have a church. But I was interested enough. Baptists, well, I was raised so much in New England. The Baptists were not such a strong factor there. Well, yeah, they were there. But in the United States, you think of Southern Baptists, but they're certainly strong here. Unitarians, well, my father's funeral ultimately was in a Unitarian church. One of my sisters, well, my sister and her daughter for a while, they were Unitarians. In the Song of Marion's Daughter, as I go on with that, I'm going to have one of the main characters be a Unitarian preacher. Presbyterians, my grandfather, Grandpa Jim, that bought this farm, he was a Presbyterian, a teetotaler too. He drank no alcohol, which I think is kind of interesting. Congregationalists, well, when I was a kid in New Hampshire, I actually left the Lutheran church and went to a congregational church, which was down the road. Now, I did it largely because I liked the students that were there, and they were my age. It seemed like we had more in common, plus my girlfriend went there at the time. And then my mom and dad, they ended up following me, and they ended up going to a congregational church. And now, here I am. I mean, I'm a Lutheran. If somebody asks me, I'll say, well, I'm a Lutheran. I'm a Hindu, actually, but I go to a Lutheran church. People don't like to hear that. But anyway, I am drawn now to the Mennonites. Currently, I mean, right now, they're singing. They sang the ad hoc choir. There was a group of Mennonites that sang for me, and they sang so well. And I've been drawn to that group of people partly because of their wonderful singing, but that's not all. It's also their way. The women don't wear lipstick. They don't pluck their eyebrows, I don't think. They wear dresses. I'm not a Mennonite. I don't believe I could ever be a Mennonite, but I am drawn by them. So you see, all of this, I'm getting a lot out of watching Burke. Pennsylvania came up. He mentioned it. Pennsylvania. Well, Pennsylvania is a very interesting state. And when I had to live in New Hampshire, because my family was there, I was chauvinistic about Pennsylvania. That's where I wanted to be. And I used to say Pennsylvania. Now I actually realize it is Pennsylvania, but it's the farm where I live. This is and always was my home. I did not fit so well in New England. Now, New England was sort of Puritan, and the Puritans, they're kind of another matter too. I should have put them here. But I think of Longfellow's Evangeline. In probably the first year, I taught about Evangeline a little bit. And toward the end, this woman, fictitious woman, who wandered and wandered all over the United States, ultimately settled in Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, Longfellow calls it. But what I remember is that she liked the sound of the thee and the thou of the Quakers. The thee and the thou of the Quakers. The thee and the thou of the Quakers. Oh, what poetry. I think Longfellow was really good. But you see, the Quakers, they retained an older form of speech. And these Mennonites, I don't think I told you this in class yet, but the Mennonites, many of them speak what they think of as Dutch. Or, it's Pennsylvania Dutch. It's actually a form of German. Much to my surprise and to the man's surprise, the other day I was singing with him, and I said I teach German online. And he said, how do you do that? I'm taking too long with this, but how do you do that? And I said, well, I just teach German. I give a conversation. And when I said German, he was thinking what he speaks. And he spoke to me in Pennsylvania Dutch. And I was astounded because I understood what he said, sort of. And I promptly said to him, Ich lehre das Deutsch von, dass man in Deutschland spricht. I teach the German that somebody speaks in German, to the best I could. Well, he was astounded because he understood what I said too, but it wasn't exactly his language. It's funny. To be continued, no doubt. All right, well, back to Burke. He's going into the Industrial Revolution. Coal, they figure out how to make it into coke, which is like taking wood and making it into charcoal. This is something I don't think I'll ever do in the Old and Other Ways Museum. I don't think. But I already have turned wood into charcoal. I don't think I'm going to go beyond charcoal. That made all this cast iron possible. You'll see this. Water mills up in the hills. He'll talk about that, and that leads into the canals. How do you get the goods to the market? Banking is taken to the countryside. Lloyd's of London, Barclay. There's a Barclay Bank right in this county. But I never thought of it as being connected to the countryside. Once again, there's this city versus country. All right, well, this has been longer than I intended to go, but so be it. I hope you enjoy that, and I'm going to give a number 2 today because I'm going to continue to read my Decentralist Manifesto. So maybe you'll be back today. Bye for now.